are going to go for that Baron. Oh, okay. So that's a decent pickup as well. Although there are a lot of counters to Baron, or rather checks to Baron. There is not much of a counter, but there's check. I hope the side of Silverboom do pick up that Crystal Ozo. If not, then Batiste going into this Baron. If not, then say a Celeste just to outpoke that of Baron.
Yep, and with that, it's going to be up to, I guess, the side of Silverboom here to reply to that. And as was talking about before, the Black Feather pickup, a very, it has just great synergy with the Lyra. So I hope they can play that well. In terms of a jungler, they'll probably go for someone like with range. I imagine either Samuel or Sky could be a good choice. Even a Kestrel might work out, unless they decide to put that Black Feather in the jungle and pick up laner such as Vox or Ringo. How you seeing this Black Feather go? A weapon or CP path?
I personally think this Black Feather will go Crystal Power. Oh god, I almost said what I wasn't supposed to say. I personally think the Black Hope.
Oh,
no,
and
okay.
hello, Petal. That's a new face that we haven't seen in a while.
Well,
I guess I should say old face, and I'm glad because I don't like Petal, but I wonder how this is going to work out for them. I mean, it could be very good counter engage when it looks like the side of Brenchong's really want to go for that dive. It's going to be the jungle Celeste as well to team up with that.
I mean, we've seen Petal play being picked up in the Challenger battles, and of course in the Challenger series, and of course in Split 1 as well for VG8. So I'm quite surprised to see Petal being pulled out this early into the split. But then again, Petal is really strong-ish in the early game as Crystal carry because of how difficult it is to kill off the minions, and especially when you have no dive in to just remove the Petal, then you have to quickly burst down the minions, which would be a pain in the ass, especially in the long run, and especially if you allow Petal to just snowball and allow Petal to take over your jungle. And then, of course, you have the Black Feather in lane that can just farm up, have the ease of farming up because there's a Lyra to provide the extra sustain going up against this Baron as well. So it is down to how execution-wise, and of course, but then just looking at through the heroes, yeah? Both Baron and Celeste, they do very well in the late game. Petal does very well in the early game. Just she kind of fails in the late game when her minions are easily taken down, when all the carries has got enough damage. And of course, you have Black Feather who can just dive in deep, whether for the Baron or Celeste. What Catherine provides in a team coming out from the side of Brenchong really is just down to the silence and, of course, the peel for Baron in terms of merciless pursuit. I do see Petal being very vulnerable to the Jump Jet's empowered auto attacks coming out from Baron. If not, then Core Collapse coming out from Celeste as well. But of course, the Core Collapse can be used to bait out the Rose Offensive from that of Black Feather as well. So it's really just down to how well both of these teams can macro throughout the map, because both of these teams, they've got obvious flaws, and of course cons is obvious flaws, and of course there are good points as well. Like said, Petal's really good in the early game. If Petal can provide the poke in the early game into Celeste's jungle, especially where Celeste's not as good in the early game against a Petal at least, then maybe the side of Team Silverboom might have a slight chance if they manage to control their snowball into the later game.
We'll have to see how it plays out as the teams move on to the fold. We have on the side of Silverboom, Payne Sandy on that Petal, Russ and Shuriken on the Lyra, and So Bad, Very Bad on the Black Feather. Meanwhile, opposing them, we got Mr. Jim on the Baron, Sync C1, or Sin C1, I should say, on the Celeste, and Majin on the Catherine. Get your hype in chat for the final matchups of today in the Split 2. It's going to decide who is moving on to the quarterfinals tomorrow. So, you know, there's a lot at stake here between these two teams. And Brenchong being a team that came up from the Challenger Series, I think they have a lot of potential. And as we talked about, they are previous members. They have acquired previous members from the VGA teams. I think they have a good chance at doing this. And, for the fact for them to even be here in the VGA at this point, it shows that they have that potential. But just whether they can step it up to the team that is Silver Boom, we're going to have to see, because Silver Boom also, they have proven themselves to get into that initial VGA.
Well, yeah, if I'm not wrong, I think Silver Boom was as well a team from the Challengers as well. So we definitely do see both Challenger teams coming up together against each other. So it's quite interesting to see. And of course, the battle, we do see now the Munions are causing a lot of trouble for Sync 1 on that Celeste, and forcing Majin on that Catherine to just follow Sync 1 as Sync 1 farms throughout her jungle. And then that would pose a problem. Ooh, we do see Rasen Shuriken. I actually do go in for Sync 1.
They're going deep into the jungle of Brenchong, and they're going to be able to, I think, steal at least one of those. And they have and this is the good thing about when you have that Lyra on your team, you have that early kind of engaged pressure. Oh, and it looks like Catherine going to get caught out in the root. And Cincy one going to try follow up with the auto attack, but there's going to be the Imperial Sigil that I talked about once again that just helps you invade the enemy jungle that much better. But they need to be careful as the whole team of Brenchons do rotate down in the jungle. They find the pedal, they're looking for Rasen. It's going to be Mr. Jim to jump in, manage to get the kill so bad, very bad on his own, but margin fairly low, doesn't have what it takes to help Mr. Jim in this situation. But right now, Mr. Jim just firing down on so bad, very bad, taking his sweet time and just whittling his health down at this moment. So bad, very bad needs to be careful here, because one jump jets in could kill him. Mr. Jim backing off like he was planning to go away, but then went for the attack. If so bad, very bad didn't land the on point, might have died there, but Mr. Jim kind of stayed around too long and does pay the price. Is going to fall to pedal there. And a few early trades going over, just a bit of a scrappy start, but overall, do you see any kind of, or do you have any kind of predictions you'd like to make how this is going to go?
Well, I mean, Pain Sunday on this battle, we do see how irritating a battle can be, but Celeste is doing a really good job in, whoa, I take that back.
Yeah, is Pedo able to pick up a kill, but gets taken out by Mr. Jim as he makes his way over the wall, saving Margin's life for now, and Rasen not really able to do too much, has to back at this point. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a real scrappy style that's making it kind of questionable. Of course, you have the late game heroes like the Baron and Celeste on the side of Brenchong, so in that sense, you'd think they'd be able to get there and have that kind of strength. But you're also looking at the weapon power Black Feather on the side of Silver Boom. So that's going to be kind of tough for them to deal with the engage held on by Russ and Shurkin, and we talked about that Lyra pickup. And then I think, we haven't seen much Pedal, but Pedal isn't exactly meta at the moment, but I'd call them sub-meta, because I think Pedal is no way a bad pickup. But they're all going to engage onto so bad, very bad. They managed to find the kill, and you see Pedal going into the backline, finds the kill, the trade kill onto Cincy 1. And yeah, I think this is going to be a very close game.
Oh yeah, I mean, close game or not, it's just down to how strong, or rather irritating and annoying Petal can be in the early game with all those Munions. Even with jump jets and powered auto attack, there is like Mr. Jim was having a hard time taking out those Munions as well. So and that is, I think, if the start of Silver Boom can actually snowball this. Yeah, I mean, although Sync 1 on that, Celeste is doing an awesome job, just dropping Helios everywhere and just farming up as well for the late game. We cannot discount the fact that Petal can be a pain as well. I mean, we did see how much damage or the amount of tick damage that Petal did on Sync 1 before so bad, very bad on that. Black Feather did rotate down to pick up that kill as well. Not pick up the kill, assist in that kill.
Yeah, and I think at this point, you can see Brenchong definitely has the more coordinated engage, but I think Silver Boom able to do a very good job to respond to it. It's just going to be about how can Boom turn it around and engage when they need to start making the plays and try and take a bit more control of this map.
Definitely, but honestly, I reckon that the petal pickup is just down to allow So Bad Very Bad on this Black Feather just farm up, just to give him a little an easier time in lane. But honestly, Black Feather in lane going up against a Baron in the early game, I think Black Feather has got the upper hand after all, because with your on point you get a health barrier which can kind of nullify Baron's shots anyways, and launches anyway. So I don't see why the petal pickup was necessary. I personally think they've got better choices like Scarf or even that of like say Crystal Batiste, but the petal pickup is just so far-fetched going into the comp like Brenchong's comp.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's that bad. They do go for the Frostburn first, which is going to help them slow down the targets for Black Feather to get onto. But you really haven't seen Black Feather really have any impact so far, and it is quite tough against the team comp that is Brenchong at the moment, and you can see that core collapse almost catching them out. But look at the damage just being rained out by Cincy1, who doesn't even have that level 8 yet, and they instantly delete the pedal, who gets caught out of position there. So Brenchong looking strong so far. It's going to be Marching going in with a stunner, and just the follow-up by Mr. Jim and Cincy1 is impressive, as it says on the screen. I'm not gonna lie, that was very well played, and they're looking for that first turret 7 minutes 30 in, and maybe a kill on So Bad Very Bad, but he's gonna be able to get out of that one. And
nope.
he's been taken out by a Solar Storm.
I mean, although Petal can prove to be really annoying in the early game, but then we do see the amount of damage that Petal do not have up against Singquan on that Celeste. Burst damage wise, I mean, you have a lot of tick damage, but if they do clear, I mean, you are meeting heavy hitters on the side of Brenchong. You have a Baron, you have a Celeste, it hits really, really hard, and it's just high burst. As compared to your tick damage, it's really just nothing. You can be really annoying in the early game, but that's about what you can do. If the enemies are phased, then you have an easy time. If the enemies are not phased and the enemies are just farming up, just doing what they want, they have better macro plays compared to you, then you are pretty much back to ground zero. You are using a less than superior hero firstly.
Oh, and it's going to be Martian going in, followed up by the Ion Cannon, getting So Bad Very Bad quite low, and it looks like they'll probably just back off from here. But continuing on from your point, on how much impact this Pale is having, which isn't too much at this point. And look, they're just going to ignore the back from Rasen and go for that turret, which they can. They have such a heavy siege comp at the moment, and Martian just being the one to tank up the damage. Meanwhile, Mr. Jim and C1 not really taking any in response. And this is what's working out for the side of Brenchong. They have that Baron there who's got that AoE damage to clear out those Munions, and it just negates so much of Pale's damage. But there's going to be a fight breaking out. It's fairly messy as Martian going low. It's going to be the kill over onto Mr. Jim, and Martian followed up with that Cincy1 going to get chased down, however, and they managed to find that ace they needed. Silver Boom. I think a messy fight is what they needed. And we were talking about how a Silver Boom going to turn it around and how they're going to be able to engage. And that worked out so well for them, because throughout the start of the game, we've seen Brenchons who just had so much control of these engages, and it went their way. But as soon as things didn't, the team split up and it got messy. They were able to find the single picks. I think Brenchon's strength is really relying in those team engages and just fully committing there. But if they're not able to find that and that gets disrupted, Silver Boom has that window of opportunity to get on through, especially with a hero like Black Feather who can really dive into the backlines.
Definitely, I must agree with you. We do see a Black Feather. We do see the Black Feather going up against a Celeste and a Baron. If their positioning is at fault, just a tiniest mistakes, and then Mr. Jim on this Baron can just So Bad Very Bad on that Black Feather can capitalize on those tiny mistakes, then the side of Brenchong would be in for a time of fun. And honestly, their Minions isn't a big problem right now. You should try to go in for Petal as much as possible. Granted, the Minions are doing like a lot of tick damage, but then what worked beforehand was because they decided that Petal was the key target instead of the Minions. And one more thing as well was because they just got really complacent at a point in time. Margin was really low, and instead of backing, Margin decided that it was the better decision to just, take down or stun Pinson.
Yeah, we see another fight that looks like it's going in favor of Silver Boom right now, as you see So Bad, Very Bad getting on that backline, but Martian going to try follow down and pick up a kill onto that Black Feather, who just stays alive, barely gets with stacks, should be able to do it. Meanwhile, Petal falls to since he won, and it's going to be close here. Rasen should have that Imperial Sigil up in 3 seconds, so if So Bad, Very Bad want to continue on, they'd be able to do so, as he's been able to get his health back through the Serpent's Mask and Poison Shiv. So it's actually going to be Cincy 1 having to back here. And luckily, Mr. Jim is up to defend this. But look at him getting dived on straight away by So Bad, Very Bad. Is it the right decision? They both fall, and they're going to have to back off from that turret, as you see Russ and Shuriken making their way back into their jungle. If anything, it's just been such a heavy team-focused fight. I realized that the side of Silver Boom don't have too much in terms of vision, and this could turn to be a problem when it comes to taking objectives such as Goldmine and Kraken.
Well, yeah, definitely. But then there's one thing we must note as well. Had Black Feather not dived the turret, then Black Feather could have taken Mr. Jim down almost immediately. So that is one thing that I'm going to say, and is that if they are going to look for engagements, and it must be in their favor. I mean, just look at Black Feather's build. He has got so much sustain as well. He's got the Poison Shift, he has got the Serpent's Mask, and he has that burst of Tension Bow as well. They are going in for another engage.
As we see Mr. Jim getting low, but so bad, very bad. He might have to back off from this one. And Mr. Jim surviving this one for only a second more, since he won, going in with the Solar Storm. That's going to be more attack to take out Pain Sandy, and they're going to find the ace onto Russ and Shuriken. Surely there's no way Russ will get out of here. They put the Imperial Sigil too far away from them. You be better off putting on yourself in that situation. I know they want to run towards it and then get out, but Martian with the merciless pursuit, and very merciless indeed, as they managed to get the counter ace. And now those minions are going to push into that turret. They might be able to take it, but Black Feather is there to defend, and it looks like they will. So that's going to be a turret in favor of Brenchong, as well as the Gold Miner.
Yeah, I mean, Margin then on the Catherine should have showed some grace to that Lara. But anyways, back to the game, and we did see earlier on, all they had to do, or rather all Margin had to do on that Catherine, was just appeal for that Mr. Jim, just enough time for Mr. Jim to put out as much damage as possible, as allowed in that team fight, and allow Xingguan. I mean, Xingguan has got an Eve of Harvest, has got a Broken Mid, has got a Frostbite. That is going to allow long, extended team fights after all. He can rival Black Feather's, he can't rival Black Feather's sustain, but then at least what he can do is just out damage Black Feather. So that is one thing that's going for Brenchong. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still looking rather equal for both of these teams.
Ooh, Rasen Shuriken does get caught out for a second, uses Arcane Passage to get away from that one. It looks like Pain Sandy not really able to engage on this team combo. It's going to rely on So Bad, Very Bad getting in there, but he's going to get chased down by this Catherine, who doesn't end up landing the stun on them, and he's now separated from his team. Silver Boom have to do something about this, but look how low Pain Sandy is, and Mr. Jim knows it. He dives in, but Renewal not going to be down soon enough, and that's going to be another kill going over to the side of Brenchong, now putting them at an advantage if they decide to push in with this minion wave. But Kraken is on the fold. They could go for the burst. They have the damage there. I mean, you've got Mr. Jim with the Soul Blade, Tyrant's Monocle, and Tension Bow, and what looks like a lucky strike, building into another possible Tyrant's Monocle. And then since C1 doesn't have the Shatter, but they do have Frostburn, Eve, and Broken Myth, which is more than enough right now. And if there's any contest like Rasen Shuriken just tried, they're able to definitely turn away from that. The vision of Brenchong now paying off immensely as they're able to spell it so bad, very bad, and it goes so low. Rasen Shuriken are going to be the next target, and there's not going to be a steal. Almost quite by so bad, very bad, but he's going to go back to base with the rest of his team to defend that one. I said the rest, but Rasen Shuriken did fall. Isn't going to be up for another 20 seconds. This is looking bad for the side of Silver Boom.
This is definitely looking bad, but just looking over to Petal's build, Petal has got a Slumbering Heart just to kind of counter the burst coming out from the side of Brenchong. I think it's a rather good pickup. Problem is that if you're going to build that, then generally as a Petal you want to stay behind and just allow your minions to poke down the enemies. But then, you know, if you're going to talk about poke wars, the side of Brenchong just do it so much better. Mr. Jim is already level 12, got out on overdrive. That means he has got really extended range. There is no way you could rival the amount of range coming out from both Sync 1 and Mr. Jim on that Baron. They are going to aim for the stage. They are definitely going to take this turret and probably end game as well if they are going to commit into a team fight.
Yeah, the sieging power is just too much on the side of Brenchong. Kraken's still at half health. Even if they manage to get a few kills, there's nothing they can do. But it's going to be in favor of Brenchong as they take out the Petal and the Lyra. Black Feathers the last one left, but only for a second as he falls. There's the ace, the crystal, and the game for Brenchong. And that's the first matchup between the two teams. I think, you know, the Baron was given over to the side of Brenchong, and then by picking up the Celeste, they just had such a great late game team, but the fact that they played it so well into the mid game just made the transition that much better. Brenchong played this one very well, and I think